This is the story of how I read 12 things in April and also lost my hair. I know, disturbing. But now seriously, this is way more comfortable than all of that hair. Like, I couldn't even see myself, and now I can see myself. Hello beautiful bookworms, my name is Katarina and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up, which is basically my O.W.L.S wrap-up because if you know, I participated in the Magical Readathon, 3rd year running stuff, and I read 12 books, which means that I complete all of the O.W.L.S and I'm really happy. Bring on to mutes because I am ready. Okay, so I'm going to take you slow through each of the things that I've read for each of the prompts, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of how I felt about them. So basically, I'm going for the Spellmaker career, which meant I only have to finish 7 of the O.W.L.S. But then I decided that I was also going to be an Animagus this year, and so I had to finish 3. No, wait, my counts are not right. Yes, they are. So I had to finish 3 O.W.L.S. 2 of them I already had, and 1 of them it was an extra, and so there were 8 O.W.L.S. And I decided why not read all 12, and that's what I did. So for Ancient Runes, which I had to do for my career, I read A Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. And I was a little bit disappointed with this book. I can see people with their pitchforks. I can see them, and I don't care. Look, I'm going to be extremely honest here. I think that my expectations hindered this book, because my expectations were up out of the roof because I had read Lock and Key by Joe Hill, which is not really the same thing because Lock and Key is sort of a graphic novel, and even though he's the writer, he's not the one that does the art, but I really love the characters and the dialogues and the things that supposedly Joe Hill did, and in here I didn't feel the same thing, and you can say that they're not the same thing and you'll be correct, and the way to analyze a graphic novel is not exactly the way to analyze a novel. Because it's a novel, my expectations were even higher, and I don't know, it was fine, I guess. So basically the story of this is this dude, he's like heavy metal rock star, and he's in his 50s, and his band has disbanded, his colleagues have died and stuff, and he is obsessed with macabre and with creepy things, and so he decides that he's going to buy a ghost. A suit of a ghost, which is supposedly haunted. And I am not going to tell you anything more than that because I do believe that you should go into this without knowing what it's about, but I have some criticisms that I really want to make, and so they're not going to be spoilers precisely, but if you don't want to know anything about the characters or the setup, just completely ignore me until I put this book down, okay? So basically the characters, I mean, I wanted to love the characters and I have no real reason not to love the characters, but it's just, do you know when you're having sort of an out-of-body experience when you're not entirely inside of the book and you're just reading it and feeling like, okay, but is anyone going to die eventually, or am I supposed to just give a fuck without knowing anything? It's just like, I couldn't feel in contact with the characters even though I enjoyed them for what they were supposed to represent, because if you don't know, heavy metal is sort of my favorite music genre. But, I mean, this had everything, and it wasn't everything, but it wasn't bad as well. It's like, I'm just disappointed, but I didn't hate it. You know what I mean? It's just, let's not waste any more time. It was fine. It was a very quick, fast-paced read. I even laughed sometimes, and sometimes were outright creepy, but then the rest of it was just not good. Then I read 2 manga volumes, and they were Emin the Wanderer Volume 1 and Emin the Wanderer Volume 2, and these are by Shinji Kajio and Kenji Tsuruta, and I have really enjoyed this. These are like the second and third book in sort of the Emin series, but these 2 are the first and the second in their own series inside of the series, if you know what I mean. So basically this is a sci-fi series, and I read this for arithmancy, this one, and then astronomy, this one, and this is basically about this woman, and she can remember everything that ever has happened since the creation of the first primordial cell. And I'm not going to tell you how that's possible because that will sort of ruin the plot. But in this case, she is normally a wanderer and she's always alone. But in this case, there is going to be a brother that she's going to meet. And it's very interesting. I love the art style. The art style is very, very beautiful. I mean, it's just amazing. The story is amazing, the feelings are amazing, and I think that I enjoyed these two more than the first one, maybe because they were very connected and I could understand what was going on in some sort of way, because this is not a very explanative sort of manga series, but I really enjoy them. Then for Care of Magical Creatures, I read The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 7 by Nagabe, and this is a series that I've been reading for a while and I really enjoy them. It's a little bit sadder and nostalgic than the normally of the manga series. Oh, okay, who am I kidding? I only read sad manga series. But it's not a typical adventure sort of thing. It's more like a medieval setting in which you have an inside and an outside. And basically on the outside there are cursed creatures that look like this, and on the inside there's humans. So the humans, if they are touched by these creatures, they are cursed and they start to appear like these, or like trees or something, so they lose all of their humanity. But this sort of creature takes into his care this little girl, and she might be more special than they know. And it's really interesting. The art is very beautiful. It's all black and white and gray, and it has a lot of feelings, and it's beautiful. I don't know how to explain. It's really beautiful, and it's very short, so it was nice for the readathon. Then for charms, I read Full Metal Alchemist, the Full Metal Edition, Volume 4, and I cheated a bit because this was supposed to be a white cover, and so I kind of counted the fact that the base of the cover was white and then you had the characters. But of course, if you know, Full Metal Alchemist is a story of these two brothers. One of the brothers loses an arm and a leg, and the other has his soul attached to a piece of armor, and they are alchemists. They practice alchemy, and they are basically taken in by the military, and they use it to search for the Philosopher's Stone in order to regain their bodies back. But this is sort of a like philosophical and familiar sort of story about magic, family, relationships, morality, religion, and it's really beautiful. And of course I've seen Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, the animation, before I read the manga, and so because it's one of my favorite stories ever, I'm just reliving the story piece by piece, and I really enjoy the manga. I really enjoy the characters, the drawings, and I feel like we have little bits and pieces of information that are not in the same sequence as a TV series, animation, anime, so it's always so much fun. And I do recommend, if you want to try manga or animation, to try Fullmetal Alchemist or Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and the animation, because it's just such a great story. I really love all of the characters, and everything that goes on is just so poetic and beautiful. It's amazing. And you have kick-ass characters. What do you want more? Then for Defense Against the Dark Arts, I read Children of the Whales Volume 12 by Abi Yumeda, and I forgot to say that Fullmetal Alchemist is by Hiromu Harakawa. I never remember this name. Never. It's so sad. But as I was saying, for Defense Against the Dark Arts, I read Children of the Whales Volume 12, and of course, you already know, I love Children of the Whales. It's about these people that are exiled in sort of a sandboat in the middle of the ocean, and some of them have powers and they die really young, and some of them don't, and they live until they're very, very old, and you're discovering how this dynamic works, why they are the way that they are, and it has a lot to do with emotions and familiar relationships, and it's really beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and of course it's all set by the coast and in the sea, and so it was perfect for the Defense Against Dark Arts prompt. And I don't know, I always love to read Children of the Whales, and I'm very happy to spread the love of this manga because it truly deserves it. So yeah. So now, as when things started to get a little bit out of control, I decided to read The Ancient Manga's Bride Volume 10 by Kore Yamazaki for no fucking reason whatsoever. So it has nothing to do with the prompts that I had to read for my owls. I just read it because in Volume 10, a new arc of the Ancient Manga's Bride series starts, so it stops in the 9th, the first arc, and then in the 10th, it's a new arc. And because I was going to read 2 of the Ancient Manga's Bride volumes, the 11th and the 12th, in the owls, I decided to just start the arc from the beginning in order to not forget anything, and that's why I read it. So I read it, I love it, as usual, and now it takes place in sort of a boarding school, which, if you know me, we love boarding school settings. But yeah, so it's not really in ancient sort of rural England. Now it's sort of English boarding school, and I love it. And it's about magic, natural magic, or magus and mages and alchemists, and it's amazing. I love it. So as I was saying, I read volume 11 and 12 as well, and volume 12 I read for divination, and volume 11 I read for history of magic, I believe. I'm not sure, but I think so. So yeah, nothing to say about these two. Love them as well. And I feel like the story is getting in deeper and deeper into the sort of folkloric lore of England. And I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. And there's a lot of fae legends in here, which I thought I was going to hate because I have a problem with the fae. I don't know why, but I really love the fae in here. I don't know, I really like the Ancient Manga's Bride. So if you haven't given this a shot, give it a shot. I know there's an animation, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if it's good or not, but the manga is great. It's still ongoing, but it's really great. Then for herbology, I read Maiden Abyss Volume 7, and this is by Akihito Tsukushi, and I love Maiden Abyss. I'm saying that I love everything, but I was very lucky with the mangas that I chose and the books that I chose for these, because I really love everything that I read pretty much for this readathon, except HeartShaped Box. Which now that I say it, it's really terrible, but I'm sorry. But yeah, Maiden Abyss is basically the story of this community. They live together near an abyss, and to get some of the stuff, they have to dive into the abyss. But basically, each layer that you go down, it's harder and harder for you to come up because you experience physical and psychological symptoms that sort of kill you slowly. And so our main character is this little small girl, and she receives, like, she's never met her mother because her mother is a cave diving person, and when the girl was born, she dived until the end of the abyss, so she never came out again. And they don't know if she's alive or not. But basically, what's going on is that she receives a letter from a mom from the end of the abyss that says, "I'm waiting for you at the end of the abyss." And so she decides to go, knowing fully well that she will never be able to come up again because she will die. And she has no training whatsoever for this. And she just goes. And she's so innocent. And every single volume, I swear to God, she's tortured just because this writer is sadistic and has pleasure in making me feel bad. But it's not meaningless torture. It has to do with the environment that they are in, and it has to do with the characters that they meet, and it's just, but it's very, if you hate child abuse for like any sort of, and physical and psychological damage, maybe this is not the book for you, because this is way deeper and creepier and than what it looks like. I'm telling you that already. There's also an animation. Also haven't seen it. Also don't know if it's good, but people do tell me it is. So yeah, I don't know. If you have the guts for it, the art is really beautiful. It's like a painting. It's really gorgeous. So I guess. Then for potions, I read Gabo Memories of Memory by Carlos Fuentes. And this is basically this guy. He was friends with Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and he's telling people how their friendship was. And because I've read some of Gabriel Garcia Marquez books and he's my mom's favorite author, I sort of decided to just give it a go and see what other people thought about him. It was very, very short. It was very, very concise, and it was pretty nice. I really enjoyed reading this. I felt like I knew a little bit more of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and it was enjoyable. I'm not going to rate this in any way because, I don't know, it's just, I wasn't reading it like to have fun or to live in a fantasy land. I was reading it for knowledge of the author. So I guess I can't rate it because I did get my knowledge and I enjoyed it. So yeah. But this wrap up is really hard to do. I don't know what's going on, if I haven't filmed in a while or so, but it's getting harder. Then for my Muggle studies, I read, I'm going to say the title in Portuguese first. A Cidade e as Serras, or The City and the Mountains, I guess. I'm not sure if that's how it translates, but that's the direct translation, by Esil Queiroz. And Esil Queiroz is a Portuguese author, was a Portuguese author actually. And here in Portugal, in school, when you're very young, you learn one of his works. And I read it, I loved it, and normally people don't read what they have to read for school or they don't like it, but I really enjoyed it. I laugh a lot with his books, and sometimes people say he's awfully descriptive. I understand why they say that, and sometimes I do feel that, but it wasn't the case properly in this book. This is basically the story of this man. He has Portuguese inheritance, but he was born in Paris, and he lives in Paris. And he has this friend, so he always was in the city, and he has this friend which I I really enjoy his friend, but okay. He has this friend that lives, so he visits his family in the country in Portugal, in the middle of the mountains, a while, like a lot of times. And so it's sort of the country mouse, city mouse, if you know what I mean. And basically what we see here is a criticism to the cities and their very fast life, and a life with people always looking over your shoulder to see what you're doing and always meddling in your affairs. And you see that people are doing a lot of sacrifices to fit in without any need, and they start to just getting wrinkled and hunchbacks, and just their posture is bad, they don't love life, and I don't know. And you have the character that our main character, Jacinto, he always loved the city, and then for an amount of reasons he has to go to the country. And you see like the difference between someone that is supposed to hate the country but then has to go there, and someone that was from the country and goes to the city. And it's abysmal, the difference in likings and situations, I don't know. And I laughed so much while reading this book, so much, because there were situations that happened that actually happened to me, or situations that happened that I could associate to the society of these days. And of course, this is a criticism to society. But it was so much fun. I could see even myself being criticized, and I was okay with that. There's this situation where the colleague that is from the country starts to get into the house of the man from the city, and he starts just tripping over all of the books that are on the floor. And he describes the bedroom like the books are on the floor, the books are on the window, the books are at the door of the bathroom when I want to go and take a shit, the books are on my bed when I want to sleep, and I'm surrounded by books and I want to get away because what is this? I want to live my life, and this dude only has books everywhere. And he actually throws the books to the ground, and he gets very upset, and he's like, I have nightmares with books crawling on the bed. And I was called out. I was like, okay, but what is the problem of living with so many books? I am feeling ashamed. And it was so much fun. I don't know, I laughed so much. And if I tell people that I laugh reading Essa de Queiroz, normally they look at me like this, like, how? But he is a classic Portuguese author, and I think that if it is translated and if you have access to it, I don't know if this is the best one to start, but by now I read 2 of his works. There's more, but this is my favorite. I really enjoyed it. I laughed so much. I don't know, it was so funny, and it's short, and yeah, it was great. More hellos to Portuguese literature in YouTube videos, because you guys need to know about Portuguese literature. We have great authors too. And then I read something for Transfiguration, and you might wonder, where is the book? I don't have it. And you might say, what? And I might say, yes. Because I did a thing, and I refuse to be shamed by it. So don't even try. Don't even try to talk to me. But yeah, I was supposed to be reading an Anne Bishop book for Transfiguration, but I couldn't read as much as I want to because this has been hectic with the quarantine and everything in our lives. It has been very complicated, and so I couldn't do this. And I started reading something else, and because it's on Goodreads, I'm going to count it. Actually, Goodreads says it has 700 and something pages. I don't believe it. I gave it like 200 and something pages, max 300. I don't believe it's 700 and something, but it could be. But I was just so excited that I had to read it, and I didn't even count the pages. So what I read, and it counts because G said that everything that was on Goodreads counted, and that's on Goodreads. I saw it. I read a fanfiction. And I'm proud of myself. Don't try to shame me. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Normally, I think that too. I am not an apologist of fanfics. I understand why people read it. I have read some in my days. But it's not edited, it's not good written, it's not, you know? And I full on agree with that. I understand why people don't like it, but then I read this, and oh my god. So this particular fanfic has sort of a triggering topic for some people. For me, it was not. It was amazing. So the title of this fanfic, I'm going to try to find the cover art and leave it here, but I don't know if I'm going to find it. So first of all, I'm going to say who the author is. So the author name is Coco Artist, and the name of the fanfic is Unsphere the Stars, which is one of the most beautiful fanfics names, and to be honest, one of the most beautiful names for any book that I've ever seen. And supposedly is sort of based in Shakespeare, so you know it's going to be good. So basically, Unsphere the Stars is a story of Harry Potter fanfic, and it's about Hermione. So consider everything that you know about Harry Potter, but take out the epilogue of the 7th book, okay? So the epilogue did not happen. In the end of what you know about Harry Potter, Hermione is sent back in time by Dumbledore, and she is sent back in time to the time where Tom Riddle was still at Hogwarts. So we're all seeing where this is going. And so it's basically the last year that he's at Hogwarts, and she was sent there because technically she was always there, because that's the premise of how time works in this fanfic. And I'm ruining it because I'm trying to explain this. So basically it's Hermione dealing with being the protagonist of her own story. So is her debating whether she can change the future, her supposed past or present, but the future of the world, by actually killing or changing Tom Riddle before he becomes Lord Voldemort, or if she cannot change it and she makes peace with it. Or, you know, it's very sad, but at the same time is really great, because for the first time I think we see Hermione without her wings being cut, because she's always the one that has to solve everything for everyone, and apparently people only see Harry Potter as being the ultimate god, which I never understood, because without her, he would have died. Like, not once, but 1,000 times over. And people do not understand that for some reason, and now I'm getting aggressive. But my Ravenclaw heart loved this fanfic, and the little Slytherin there's in me, there's a little one, there's a very small one, but it's there, loved this fanfic. And that's because the villain that I always hated in Harry Potter was Umbridge. I don't hate Voldemort. I think what he did is not right at all. And I hate that people had to suffer for it. But I feel like he was just an hallucinated, crazy, power-obsessed dude. And that's why he did those shitty things. But Tom Riddle is not Lord Voldemort. They're the same person, but Lord Voldemort is a corrupted, soulless, power-obsessed person. And Tom Riddle is a boy that was abused in an orphanage and couldn't grow up with his parents and was never shown any love at all. So, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to say anything about this because I already feel you judging me, but you know what? We read what we want, and it was not problematic. The writing was beautifully poetic, which I was not expecting from a fanfic, and I love it. I loved it. It was really awesome, one of the best things that I read, and I could count it as canon because I don't fucking care. I love it. I really do. And since JK is not publishing anything else that we want to read, guys, why not? I mean, it was great. It was great. Just take it as a wish, but it was great. So, yeah. So that's all for my April wrap-up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you have made the owls, and if you have, just tell me, what are you aiming for with your newts? I know that I'm very excited for August to do my newts, and I hope that you guys are all well. I hope that you have been quarantining and safe. And yeah, that's all for today, and happy readings to you all. Bye!